Hello friends, today we are starting our next lecture which is about chapter 2 part 2. So we'll continue the previous video further. So let's start the video. So today our first topic is concept. When you heard the word concept, what does come in your mind? It's about an idea which just gets stuck to you or you form mentally. So concept basically means an idea. So I'm reading the first line, an idea of something formed by mentally. You form your idea mentally in your head, combining all the characteristics or particular, looking around what all things you need to form an idea, looking around what is the base of the idea or what all things you need in the idea. So you form that concept to proceed further in your work. So Bruner says that formation of any group or category is known as concept. When there is a formation of any group or a category, you know it a concept. Then what are the elements required? You need only 5 basic elements to form a concept, which is name, example, attributes value, and rules. If these 5 elements are there in that concept, the concept is bang on. You are good to go and proceed further. So knowing these 5 elements is basically understanding a concept. So next topic is, what is concept attainment? We have understood the concept. How do you attain the concept? So in the first line you get the whole process about the concept attainment, which is you work on indirect instructional strategy which you use at structured inquiry process. To understand it, we need to go to the process further written. So here what the students do, basically he figure out the attributes of a group. He figure out what do you need to form a concept, right? Then he compares and contrasts examples of the group with non-attribute group. Basically it means that you have an attribute of a group. You compare that attributes with other groups which has examples, similar examples, and which doesn't have similar examples. So you compare with both the groups. When you compare, you separate them into 2 groups, right? Then finally a set of critical attributes is generated that define the concept they are learning. Finally, after comparing, you get the critical attribute which you are looking for, which the concept you want to learn. You get that. Then it engages students in skills of identifying similarities, differences, generating the testing hypothesis. So it says here, when a student works on the further skills by comparing, then he is working towards skills of identification, similarities and differences both, and generating the testing hypothesis. So you get your work process. Then 3 major principles are there, which is first, conceptual clarity. You should have the clarity what you making, what are you doing basically. Then secondly, you should have multiple examples. You should have a comparability of examples for similarities and differences. And then when you have all this, you have the conceptual competence. You ultimately have the achievement, basically the mental strength from which you derive the concept, and you competence it, you achieve it. So coming back to the first line, which is indirect instructional strategy, which is not yet formed but which is need to be compared with other strategies, and then which you uses as structured inquiry process. Then when after you get the final critical attributes, you use that inquiry process, use it further as an inquiry process for your work. So why do you use concept attainment? Why do you require it? So basically, first, why do you require it? To select a concept. You need to select a concept. You need to provide students with yes containing critical attributes and no few critical attributes, which is similar critical attributes and which doesn't have similar critical attributes. So you have the examples of both so that you can compare. When you compare, students will identify yes examples which have in common, which have similarities, and no examples which are different from each other. Then you provide more yes and no examples for test. Then you give them for the test. Generate the final set of critical attributes. You get the final set of critical attribute and then applying the understanding of process by completing the task. When you have your critical attribute, your result of comparing, then you apply that thing, the process, by completing the task. So this is basically, we need a concept to identify our process, understand our process. That is why we need critical attribute, or we need the concept, So that was all about the concept. Our next topic is mastery learning. So by reading these two words, we get mastery learning, which is like a top level. You learn like bang on, it's in your head, stuck there forever. That is mastery learning by the word we think on. But let's understand what our book says. So it is a way of organizing instruction. So when a teacher gives you instruction, through mastery learning you can organize your instruction, what to take first on. So John Carroll says that it is dependent upon the aptitude of a person concerned. So how does person aptitude is basically, it depends on that, how the person is intelligent or not, or how does he take it. So it depends on that. So here aptitude is equal to learning. The more you have aptitude, the more learning you have. That's basic common sense. Matter is divided into small learning parts. The matter, what you have is divided into small learning parts. Then learning material is identified. Then with each unit there are tests to evaluate the process. When you have learning material, then you test every material to identify the process. Instruct students about the procured data so that every problem the student face can be removed. Then you again instruct the student about the data which has been procured so that if the student has any problem, you can help them to remove it. In developing self-initiation, by doing this mastery learning, you develop self-initiation, problem solving, self-analysis, inspiration, help for slow learner in gaining self-confidence. So many things while doing the mastery learning. You have the self-initiation, problem solving, self-analysis, inspiration, help for slow learner in gaining self-confidence. So basically overall it is about the matter which is divided into small parts, and then these small materials are taken for the test to be proceed. And while procuring, if you have any problem, teacher could help you out. So this is basically mastery learning. Slowly you learn the whole thing, not like just go and grabs everything and that's fit into your brain. Not like that. It's like an aptitude and the learning. The more you have aptitude, the more learning you can grow easily. But the less aptitude, the less learning. It goes like that. So our next topic is inquiry training model. Inquiry is like you do an inquiry about certain things. Like, so what is it basically? Independent type of inquiry, right? Sorry, there is a correction. It's an I, not E. So so it is a yes and no type of answer is given. In inquiry training model, you always have yes and a no type of answer. Then students develop the hypothesis. By getting the yes and no answers, you develop the hypothesis, how many yes and how many no. Student don't ask teacher how. In this method, student don't ask teacher how did you get all these yes and no's. Inquiry is not programmed. It is on the spot, or it is not programmed before. Teacher and students have equal importance. Here, no one is superior, not the teacher nor the students. They both have the say. Teacher role is to present the problematic situation in front of the student. Teacher here is to present the problematic situation so students could figure out the solutions and come to the result. So here students are independent. They don't have any superiority on them to work like that or have any instructions. They are independent. So basically it's an independent inquiry. Why? You are searching for simple answers, which is yes and no, and you don't have any instructions above your head to follow these rules, and you can proceed with your study. Yeah, this was inquiry training model. Next is teaching strategy. So let's understand what is strategy. Patterns of acts that serve to attain certain outcomes change according to changing situations. There are various patterns of acts that serve to attain certain outcomes, right? And change according to changing situations. So this is strategy. When you try to focus on things through which you can change the situation, that is basically a strategy, right? What is teaching strategy? It is a generalized plan. You obviously think about it before forming it. It includes structure, learner behavior, and plan tactics. Everything is being included and everything has been looked forward before while planning a generalized plan. So why do we need teaching strategy? Firstly, it facilitates learning to learners and help them to focus. A student can learn more easily and get a level of focus in their learning. So what are the types of teaching strategy? First is autocratic and second is democratic. Auto, which is automatic, and democratic, which is democratic, right? So how do we understand them? Like, autocratic is content centered strategy, which should have content, right? Democratic is child centered strategy, which is work according to the child, right? Here in autocratic, teacher is primary, everything is work according to teacher. Memory lane is active of child, right? Example, demonstration, lectures, tutorial groups, everything has been guided by the teacher here. In democratic, interaction between student and teacher is a must. Student have the whole authority to interact with teacher, ask her questions, take her guidance, and everything has been a two-way process. Individual differences are kept in mind. If you have any individual differences between the teacher and the student, you should keep it aside and work on the project. Importance is given to interest and abilities. So what the abilities you have, how much you can give to the strategy, this is the basically aim. So here you form strategies which can be one is like teacher focused and which is like interactive focus. So these are two strategies you can form. So this was our lecture. I hope you like it. Do like, share and subscribe my channel and wait for our next video. Until then, bye.